Welcome again to another edition of the Truth Gangsters podcast. Thank you for joining me. Tonight's topic we'll be discussing a few good men choosing better in the age of Pookie and Ray Ray. Little girls all over the world get fed the Disney fairy tale of the princess who is rescued from her troubles, from her life, brave and dashingly handsome Prince Charming, who makes her his wife, and together they ride off into the sunset, happily ever after. Sadly, many of these little girls grow up to realize that not only are there very few princes, but most princes aren't even charming. Yet find him we must, because who wants to be a single mother? We've all heard of how single mothers are demonized. We've heard how horrible their life is and how horrible they make their children's lives. No one wants to be that woman who just can't get a man and has to suffer being single forever. The crazy cat lady. Finding a man in today's world is of equal importance to finding yourself, your career, and your peace. So, what guidelines must women use? What roadmap shall we take along with us to traverse this rocky road filled with Pookies and Ray Rays, who boldly declare, as Freddie McGregor did in his song The Loving Papa, that they are only interested in making you tingle with delight. With my money, girl, you won't get far. We're damned if we do and damned if you don't. Or as we say in Jamaica, everywhere you turn, Maka joke you. Let's say you decide to go with the loving papa, which is every poor man or poor man's advocate description of what they are. Just an honest, humble man who happened to not be lucky in life when it comes to finances and is deserving of love, affection, and partnership from a woman. And yet, the danger of the Pookie and the Ray Ray, the loving pauper, is not only clear as day in real life, it's clear in the song. Go back and listen to those lyrics. He makes it clear. He's only interested in sex. What makes you tingle with delight? Tell me where to hold and to touch you. Because when it comes to loving, I'm all right. You will be blamed, women, if you happen to bring children into suffering with a loving papa. Oh, yes. As our good friend Sir P said on another channel, you may find yourself with an adult child asking you, Mom, why did you bring us into this suffering? It's your fault. And there's no shortage of podcast bros to remind you that it is you who controls access to sex. You birth children for a worthless man. And why do you keep having them? If you try with another loving pauper, then you become the dreaded baby mother with multiple baby fathers. So you decide to choose better and you look at outward things that may indicate stability, things like talent, determination. Does he have money, assets? Then you're a gold digger. You're a six at best. Please go back and bring something to the table. And if in seeking to bring something to the table, you go out and get degrees, get qualified, get skilled, you're going to be told that your degrees mean nothing. The podcast girlies will tell you to rest in your femininity and you will attract. Because, of course, women don't chase, we attract. That's what the feminine does. That doesn't seem to be working either because the men are not interested in dating, they're not interested in pursuing. So what do we do? We close our legs? Do we improve ourselves? Clock is ticking and you are devaluing with time. Or do we come together as women and start to recognize what are the traits of a good man, however few they may or may not be? Develop strong boundaries, high standards, and refuse to give access to any man that does not meet these standards. So let's discuss it. Let's talk about it tonight. Welcome all my guests. Welcome Leighton. I'm so happy to have you in this edition. I think Leighton, if we're to be fair to the conversation, one of the first things we have to do is define what a good man is. Is there any consensus on what a good man is? How must women decide?
That's a very interesting point of departure, Keisha. Um, uh, a good man. I don't think women would be unanimous on what a good man is. I think for many women, a good man at one time was a provider, a material provider. And that group of women basically felt that if they're being provided for, well provided for, then whatever else there was in the relationship that was lacking, the excellent material provision would more than compensate for it. But many beatings and much emotional abuse later, uh, several of those women have found that the material provision was not sufficient. Uh, by the way, your introduction was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So I don't need to go into the loving papa part of it, but generally, a woman sees as a good man is also bound up with what she believes a good woman to be that the good man that she's looking for is absolutely not suited to the good woman that she is. To answer your question, finally, no, there's no consensus on what a good man is, and I am of the belief that if a good man fell down out of the sky on top of most women, they would still not find it.
Thank you, Leighton. You know, the notion of a good man, I think part of the problem is that we get confused because we know that the Prince Charming doesn't exist. Or rather, we have been told that this Prince Charming that you have in your head, get it out of your head because it's not realistic. It doesn't exist. And interestingly enough, the champions for that line of reasoning are usually men. Men will tell you, don't worry leaving your boyfriend or husband if he cheats because all men cheat. All men lie. All men look at other women. All men watch porn. All men do this and that. And so, to your point about a good man who is a provider, I think what's happened with women is that they've had to accept that they won't find an ideal mate. So it's best they accept a good man within the confines of whether he can make their life easier or better. And that usually happens to be the safest bet under those descriptions would be the man with means. So I don't know that it's that women wouldn't recognize a good man. We have been told repeatedly that the parameters that we have as a good man is unrealistic.
Well, I should say, Keish, that I was gonna qualify my statement to say, not to say that there is an abundance of quote unquote good men. In fact, there is a severe shortage of good men. From my own experience, I have a lot of, have had over the years many good sistren, platonic woman friends. And every now and again, they would say to me, Leighton, you don't have no man you can set me up and no man you can introduce me to. And I would feel bad because when I would scroll through mentally my list of friends, single friends, there all of them would be unsuitable. Like as for my sister that I want, I'm not looking for any utopia for her. I'm not necessarily looking for a man who wouldn't cheat, but I'm looking for a man who wouldn't cheat with her sister, her best friend, her coworker. Um, you know, that sort of thing. And at the end of the day, it's very, very difficult. You know, you think about the men who are gonna kiss and tell. You think about the men who are prone to refer to women they've dealt with carelessly behind their back as bitches and whatever else. And you don't want that for your sister. And at the end of the day, if you're being real as a man, if you, when you look at all the degenerates that you are not friends with or you don't keep contact with, you have a sister come to you and say, about the apparently decent guys, colleagues, you know, friends from school that you're in contact with. Any of them single just send on, and you can't send on one. It's like you just have to admit that there is a serious, serious scarcity of good men.
Boy, Leighton, if if resorting to, well, I'm not looking for a man who doesn't cheat. I'm looking for a man who doesn't cheat with her sister. Then we see that the bar might be in hell. But I want to talk more about the Loving Papa song by Freddie McGregor. Only encouraged to adopt the approach of accepting the loving papa when it's convenient. Man who is the papa in the moment. So he goes on in the song to talk about how he'll make you tingle with delight. He doesn't want to hear what your friends are wearing. He doesn't want to know. He doesn't want to know what they're buying because money doesn't grow on tree. Tell me where to hold and touch you. And yet, if you partner with this man, if you get pregnant by this man and you end up in suffering, multiple children, the woman is blamed. She should have chosen better. How can the loving papa be continuously pushed on women, even up to this day. And some would say specifically black women. Black women are the ones being told, listen, just make sure, say, is a man who will stand by you. Doesn't matter if he has money. Doesn't matter. Pitney will eat. Food will provide. God will provide. It doesn't matter. Just give the poor man a chance, man. You go on like say you have so much high standards. You go on like you're highty tighty. And the very same men will jump on a podcast or on YouTube and complain and berate poor ghetto mothers for having children in poverty. How are we to treat with the loving Papa Leighton?
It's it's even worse than that, Keish. The same man, the very same man who says to give the loving papa a chance. Once his financial tide turns, him same man going up on the girl and say she worthless and I want nothing out of life. Cause if she not tired, I take bus and walk foot and say nice rider, etc., etc., etc. So he's not gonna be a wealthy man or a man of means and look at a woman and say, no man, give the poor man a chance, man. You know, he might have more to offer you in the long run than a car man. And he isn't gonna tell her that. Him just looking out for himself, whatever. You know, if you're a pauper, then you have to convince her that you're a loving pauper. What other kind of pauper would you be if you want to breed her? So, and what you speak about, um, and this is really why the few good men are dwindling down to none. Every man is invested in the unsuitability of the next man because it makes him more attractive. So, you know, me no box down woman, me no post bad blood after woman, me no search woman phone, which I don't even know if there are any Jamaican men left that can say that, which is, a whole subtopic all by itself. So, if in those circumstances the bar is set so low that you absolutely are a good man if you don't do any of these things. And the question is that enough for any reasonable, self respecting woman? Is it enough for your sister, your daughter? And this is something men need to really look into.
I think there is a fantasy that men want to paint of other men and of themselves when it comes to the loving papa, that they are just a trying youth. You're just a trying man. And if you stick with me, just stick with me, babes. Once we get over this hump, then we'll be all right. And I'm going to spoil you and treat you like a princess. I'm going to provide all these things for you. But, I just need you to stick with me. And one school of thought, certainly when you watch these wealth coaches who are male, they will tell you that when you're poor, you shouldn't be looking for a woman. You should be looking to get your money up. Is that fair? Is that reasonable to expect that a poor man should go without the pleasures of a woman? And how reasonable it is for the woman to accept that. When we look at the statistics, many women who stay and build with a man, it doesn't end up like Denzel Washington. That's a fantasy. It don't end up where you live happily ever after, so to speak. A lot of women report that even when they stay with the loving papa and even help him to build himself, they are betrayed or they are left for a younger woman, a prettier woman. What are your thoughts on that, Leighton?
Um, uh, those stories are legion. It's almost a parable. And in those circumstances, how can you how can you fault women who don't want to bargain away or mortgage their lives and their future in this way? So you know, a- as a man, I'm extremely sympathetic to women, especially because they have the additional burden of uh, thinking about children, carrying children in their prime childbearing years, when they may not have found this needle in the haystack, and even worse, when they don't know where in the haystack to look. So, you know, it's a form of real gaslighting when these men say, you should have chosen better, as if there is some big pool of better to choose from. Um, and but what it does is it's just a way of shifting the blame onto the woman. Uh, because if you can end the argument by saying she should have chosen better, then you don't have to contend with what little better there is to choose from. Mark it. When women say the reverse or say the same thing in reverse, you should have chosen better. At that point, the men want to let you know that the pool of women is so contaminated that they can't be faulted for having chosen poorly.
That's when they
Plus,
get their passports out.
plus, the women are so deceitful, so deceptive that they had done what they thought was a sufficient due diligence. They were just duped, tricked, bamboozled.
And not only do they bear the brunt of childhood, they bear the brunt of the blame. If anything goes wrong, the woman will be, we have the sprinkle sprinkle movement, which has been around forever, gone by different names. Jada Kingdom boldly said free fuck a rape. And there are many other adages. Back in the 80s, there were songs like, if a man want you, make him pay down pan it. Some kind of security for the things that women have to face if the relationship goes sour or if the man turns out to not be who he is, or just to have some maintenance of her pride and her dignity. Some people say it's better to cry in a Porsche than to cry on the corner being homeless. Hypergamy, is that a fear response from women to practice Leighton?
Uh, to be honest, I every time I hear the podcast bros hit out against hypergamy, I it tickles me pink because hypergamy is a law of nature. It's not something that is fair or reasonable. It's a law of nature. For the survival of the species, you want to get the genetic traits that are most likely to contribute to the survivorship of the species. So women are always going to mate with, seek out to mate with the stronger, more successful males, the males who are at the top of the food chain. Um, why? So you can demonize them all you want. It's not like that's gonna change their behavior. It's a law of nature.
So true. So very, very true. I suppose, in fairness to those who make the criticism, and time again, where women supposedly select partners and their primary focus is the man's wealth, and they fail to look at his character, fail to properly vet him, fail to pay attention to red flags, and they end up with a puff daddy or one of the dozens of millionaires or rich men who are abusive, narcissistic, who, even though they're rich, they won't pay for a nanny, they won't pay for a housekeeper, they don't spend money on the woman. So I suppose for the women, part of the challenge they will have is, as you said in the beginning, defining very clearly what a good man is. And a good man has to encompass not just material things, but also other traits of integrity, honesty, kindness, etc. But I want to talk. Sorry, you were saying something, Leighton? Go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was saying, Keisha, that I notice in some women, um, they're either in a hell too low or a heaven too high. To hear these women tell it, either you're suffering in poverty with a grifter, or you are living in luxurious bondage with some rich man licensed firearm serial rapist abuser. And I'm left wondering, woman, is there no middle road? Is there no man who is, he's not driving uh, a Porsche, or but he's driving something. He's not living in a mansion, but he's living in a nice bungalow in a decent neighborhood. You know, um, I don't know. I sometimes that gets to me.
Is we can't have this discussion without addressing the issues of patriarchy and capitalism. The truth is, a lot of the men who drive a regular Honda Civic and men, they want to be Puff Daddy. And in their quest to climb and become the so called alpha male, they can be very cruel. They can be very insecure because you might be comfortable with it, but they aren't. Or the way they conduct themselves in pursuing women is a complete turnoff because they're on the up and up. And they might have a regular car and a regular apartment, but they're living from paycheck to paycheck. And we've all heard the stories, and we are all aware that broke men are extremely miserable and bitter and unkind, you know. So there's a whole other thing to dissect with that. Even the phrase Pookie and Riri, I used it mainly for the comedic factor, but it is a problematic phrase because Ray Ray is just the guy from the neighborhood. It's just a regular guy. He may not be a bad person. He might have a job at the post office. He might have a job at the bank. He might be a teacher. These plays on African nicknames or black nicknames to try to dehumanize men are often used by men. And I'm just making the point that it's really men who despise both themselves and other men when they are poor. They only pretend to have some respect for the loving papa when they are the one in search of vagina. That's the only time they think that these men are worth something. It's when they think women should rescue them or women should lower their standards for them. But in reality, it's men who use these terms to describe women's baby father, to describe men that they think they're better than. So, it's it's really tricky. But I want to go back to this point of vetting men properly, Leighton. Years ago, Steve Harvey came out with a book which I believe was later made into a movie. Think like a man, act like a lady. One of the prescriptions in the book was to wait 90 days before having any intimacy with the man. No sex before 3 months. Men everywhere rubbished that rule and they came up with all kind of scenarios. It doesn't matter if he have sex with you on the first day or 1 year later. If he wants to leave you, he will. Um, I'm not paying dates for no woman if she's not having sex with me after a week. Men were up in arms. So even attempts by women and other men to get women to extend the vetting process, close your legs, so to speak, which they love to say. Investigate his background, see what his family is like. What does his co-workers have to say about him? How does he handle stress? How does he respond to adversity? Is he a stand-up guy with basic promises? No. Men are going to encourage you. Sleep with him at the first opportunity. And they're not wasting money. They're not carrying women on dates for 3 months. Is it a con game, Leighton? Is it a trick?
Uh, it's definitely a trick because those same men, you see, the thing, it, to men, it's a game. Their part of the game is to try to get you, is to try to hit it. And your part of the game is not to let them hit it. And, so if they win, then they would have conquered you. They would have won the game. But part of that game is to be as yeah, you're trying to pressure the woman, cajole, encourage pressure, and of course, as the statistics will bear out, there's an extremely high incidence of straight out and out rape where the man just not take no for an answer, he want it and him forget it, you know. But for those men who are not out and out raping, the ones who are encouraging, cajoling, berating, scolding, persuading, annoying, persuading, annoying some more, they think a strong percentage of them think that a good woman will resist their advances until for some good period, as much as they rubbish it, because of course them want some pum pum now, but those same men will be heard telling them brethren, I know good girl that, I go 1 week, we know it before, I'm going to smash it, I know good girl. So, but of course, he wasn't telling her that, you know, she should hold on to her virtue a little longer. He might tell her, say, oh, no, man. Then, I don't mean to be long winded, but I remember a sister years ago telling me about a sister of her. Oh, sorry, not a sister of hers, her own experience, where she was a virgin and she just decided that she wasn't gonna give up her virginity until she was absolutely certain that the whichever man was really, 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 really loved her. Um, and long story short, she held out for a year, and this guy, like a year, he held out and took her virginity, and then just they were supposed to go to a party. 2 days later, he was there with another girl. Like he wasn't even gonna give her a second roll in the hay. So whilst I understand the rubbishing of that particular 90-day rule,
That day be, why
or
should it be
in
rubbished?
in
Why should it be rubbished?
come I,
Why should it be
sorry, I
rubbished?
didn't. Oh, I'm saying in the sense that ne'er do wells will hang on for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 365 days, and then totally diss the woman. Same way. Um, so it certainly isn't a guarantee, but the men who most often rubbish it really are not thinking about that. They just want the woman to give it up now and don't have any standards at all.
Yeah, it seems a little bit strange because there is nothing guaranteed. But I don't think there is any person who, in all fairness, could say that you know more about a man after 90 days than after a week. The likelihood of you knowing more about a person after you've seen them in a variety of situations is greater than if you sleep with him after a week. So for men on any basis rubbishing the 90-day rule that Steve Harvey suggested in his book is just mind blowing to me. Welcome, Dacia. Thanks for joining. What do you have for us?
Interesting. I jumped in at the last part where Leighton was speaking, but it's interesting that you mentioned that 90-day rule. Actually, one of one of the ways that I have learned a lot in terms of these things is by having male friends. And while they will rubbish it, I have noticed it and I said it to one of my friends, male friends, that was a hopper or is was a hopper, right? Something they would call it fly fishing. Steve Harvey called it fly fishing, right? Um Men, when they are pursuing, and I'm gonna say some because it's never, everybody, it's not always it cannot be general because you always have outliers, you always have people that operate differently. But when they are pursuing that thing, when they're pursuing that thing, they pay more attention. And this is what I noticed with this friend in particular. You see, once him get it, he's not that interested. So this person could be a very interesting girl and so forth, but because him get whatever it is that him want, he would not have taken the time to him, that there enough time did not pass for him to learn that, and him just hop right on to the next one. But the longer he would spend to know somebody and know, get to know the person, and if those females also took longer and took more time to know the person, then they could make more informed decisions. And I think more women or less women would end up in certain situations if that 90-day rule was actually being followed by more persons. That's my personal view. I also believe that those persons that are fly fishing would have less options, but because things are so easy for them, for someone that's trying to uphold a certain standard or so forth, you know, they're gonna move right on, which is fine. They need to move on anyway. But I think a lot of the a lot of the issues that we're having now is because women have just made things just too easy and free for all, in my view, for men. Women, it's just too easy out there for men. They want 50-50. They want they want they want no 90-day. They want this, they want that, they want so and so. And women, a lot of women, because they're so insecure within themselves, I believe, because society has made it seem as though something is wrong with you if you can't attach yourself to a man. um Women are just putting themselves in situations way too early than they needed to, and so it's too easy for men. They're not putting in as much work, and it's just making this thing just whole messy and all kind of stuff. That is my personal view.
I mean, you're right, and certainly there's merit in Leighton's story, because a lot
There
of
is,
men
because you
trick
do
you
have
and
some
string
of
you
them that
along.
are very spiteful, and they will deceive you because they say, "Oh, all right," because they have a goal, that man's goal was to get that girl virginity. So if he was to wait for 2 years, he would have. It don't mean that he's not going to do anything else, because I am sure that he was not withholding himself for that 12 months, right? But he was very careful not to get caught, and he was dedicated to the cause because he decided that it's him going get it, right? And he was probably also trying to prove a point. So there are those. But maybe, just maybe, Keisha, if that girl should think back, maybe there were some kind of signs. Maybe. Because sometimes
Yeah,
in hindsight, when you look back, there were probably some signs, but they're coaching us to accept certain things and so forth. So you might say, "Oh, me too, so and so." Maybe it's not what I'm thinking and so forth. But there's probably something that when she look back at it, should I say, he was not the one for me.
at the end
So
of the day, I would say to women and men
mhm.
that given the society that we exist in, it is far safer
It
to,
is.
and it one thing you will have at the very least is some dignity,
That is
because
true.
because I'm sure Leighton and other men would be sympathetic to a woman who said, "I waited a year to have sex with him, and I thought, I'm a virtuous woman, and I thought he was going to be my husband," as opposed to what they call a 304 or termite or whatever new slang it is to degrade women.
What? Lord
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Jesus.
Those are every day they come up with more degrading terms.
Because I know they
So
like to talk about, she's
Me,
for the
me,
streets.
me miss the school. Me miss school on that. What that? Termite? What?
termite,
I
kerosene, 304, hoe, slut,
well, them
butter
one, yeah, but
ears.
they
That one
also
there, yeah, that
like to
one there
say
we
she's
know.
for the
So,
street. That's what them like to say nowadays as well.
If you get tricked
Ah,
by a man that you slept with after one night, they're gonna say you deserve it. If you get tricked by a man that you slept with after a year, they're gonna say you deserve it. But they're also gonna say, well, at least she's not a termite. Leighton, am I off or
This
Well,
conversation can spin so
you
beautifully.
are perfectly right. Well, you can't be perfectly right because people are there are distinctions, but you're right in the main. And there was something I was gonna say, and it's totally slipped me. Of course, in the not all men categories, the many men that have married women that they slept on the first date.
Mm-hmm. True.
Um, you have many men, including me. Um, that was Nikki. She knows. but but at the end of the day, you know what's interesting? I'll tell you the flip side. When I ask out a woman, I've already made a decision that I'm interested in having sex with her. Else, why did I ask her out? But I am well aware that based on our interaction on that date and subsequently, I may lose interest in having intercourse with her. And there are certain women, there's a certain type of woman that believes that once you developed an interest, you will never turn back from it, no matter what she says, no matter what she does, that you would just, you're hunting it, you want to go through with it regardless. And of course, once I find out that it's that type of woman, the turn off is complete. But I mention it because I find it interesting the notion of this vetting period. It's almost like uh, those people that say they want to cohabit before marriage to know whether, you know, marriage would work out.
every
But the
every every job
circumstances,
every job has a probationary period, where you can get fired without warning.
So
Sorry.
my
I think
thing.
Leighton wasn't finished. Sorry, Leighton. Sorry. Please
Oh,
finish your point. I was just
yes,
teasing you.
no say a word. Where was I?
you were saying that there are some women that believe that once you're in a whatever it is that you're
Right,
in,
right.
there's nothing they can
But
do wrong, right?
it, it's so funny with those cohabit to see whether, you know, marriage would work out. It's very few circumstances in which, you know, after so many months of cohabitation, they say, well, there's no point in marriage here or even living together further. What you find really happening is that if the cohabiting not working so good, but during the course of the cohabiting, she happened to get pregnant, or you know they're working, them all end up in a marriage counseling to see if them can continue the cohabitation, whether it makes sense to get married, and you know. So the point is that once they make that commitment, that lower level commitment, it's almost like when somebody get into law, but they're not meeting the grades. But you know, whoever drops out of law school, so they help them, bump them along, because they don't want to outright kick them out. So this is how these vetting things go. A lot of the times, you know, if the woman is really, really, really wanting to have sex with the man, even when she see red flag after red flag after red flag after red flag, unless it's a woman with a certain amount of composure and self awareness. Um, you know, all the happening is after she do it, she said, I should have known when red flag
Mm-hmm.
incident. I should have really known when. other red flag incident, you know. But as I said, in my own experience, when it reached a stage, and I've been through this experience many times where it's one of the reasons why I even started being like I wouldn't ask out a woman as soon as I realized that, I was attracted to her because I'd even wait for to find out a little bit more because once you say, can we go out? And she looking at your eye, she don't know, say, you like her. She say yes, wanna go out and you have a reason with her and based on your reasoning with her, you realize like she might talk about her jealous ex boyfriend. And when she tell you the extent of the jealousy, and you say, well, how long were you with him? And she tell you 5 years. Say, and he was like that from the, yeah. And I say, well, then you're jealous too. Everybody's jealous, Leighton. Bang, 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 red siren, red siren, red siren. No, you want dip out and shall make it look like, say, warm, 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 warm. Like, say, the promise or something. So,
Well, a lot of what you said, Leighton, goes back to Dacia's point, which is women need to understand that they need to understand the thing that men know and they're not saying out loud, which is that men your value. The more access you give to men, it lowers your value, and men know it. That's why they talk about women who are ran through. That's why they want to know your body count. That's why they're obsessed with virgins. That's why they don't want to date baby mothers or women who've had children by multiple men, because men lower a woman's value. The more access you give to men, access to your body, is the lower your value becomes, and it's not wrong. You're walking around with a portal to life.
But you see, Keisha, it's a double standard, and the same friend that I'm telling you about,
But it has to be a
his
double standard
his
because we're not
his
men. We're
his
not men.
hold on, his take was that he didn't want any retired skettle, and I said to him, "But you are doing the same thing." So all those women that you are jumping through, that you didn't know initially that you did not want a relationship with, and
He's
you went
taking
there
kettle.
anyway, you are helping them to be this kettle that you don't want. So you are ending up running up their body count for somebody to later on date this person. I personally, I think it's a double standard that is not. Uh, I think it's not necessary. That is my view, but everybody holds their own opinion as it relates to that. I don't think previous body count is important. That's my view. Because who someone was a year ago or 6 months ago may not be necessarily who they are now. So that is my personal view. My thing is, the longer you it's so many things, Keisha, because I have to speak about the women that they are very aware when they're sleeping with a person on the first night and all of these things. um Conversations I've had again with male friends. But the more, if you are someone that wants a serious relationship, it is important for you to wait some time to get to know the person better, because who you see the first week is not the same person that you may see the second week. You may start a month later, you may start finding some inconsistencies with a story. You may find some things that were omitted. Then you might, there are other things that will come into play, because then there are the friends, there are the relatives, and then you want to really realize, is this somebody that I really want to be in a serious relationship with? So it gives you more time to make more informed decisions. If you jump into a situation too early, you may end up having regrets, and especially if a child came from that union. So if more persons took a little longer to make a decision, to say, this is the person I'm going to sleep with, this is the person that I'm going to have a relationship with, then I think a lot of some of these traumas, a lot of these things could have been avoided.
But you know, this year I want to pivot slightly as you mentioned the issue of waiting longer. One of the great fears, it would seem, of men in the world of dating is to be put in the dreaded friend zone. And many men with public platforms have gone on and on and on to propagate this myth that if a woman respects you and she sees you as high value, she won't make you wait for sex. And they're eager to get that out of the way.
You
And
know,
just wait just a minute. And also I also want to get K Dot's view on this too. K Dot has been my friend for years, and I know he would have some views on this also. Parallel with the friend zone is the nice guy, and women are often criticized that we overlook the nice guy, the guy who's been our friend, the guy who shows up when we call him to help us change our tire, or who brings Panadol when we have period cramps. We don't want that guy. We put him in the friend zone, and we go on with, if it's not Pookie and Rere, is Shatter and Gunman, Thuggy Thuggy, or whatever, or the entertainer and the druggist. All these that are minds that women are going after instead of.
can I just say something before he jumps
Mhm.
on though, Keisha? This 3 month thing, men seem to think it's just for women. But do they not want an opportunity to know about this woman? That is why a
No,
lot of them
they
have the
want sex.
no, yes, Keisha, but that is how a lot of them end up with women carrying children for them, and then they have baby mother drama, all kind of things later on. It's also for them to get an opportunity to know the woman as well. So it's not like we're saying, okay, men, it's both of us should get to know each other properly during that time frame, so they are behaving as though they are at a disadvantage. Also, I personally believe that men that have this whole friend zone thing, what are they, children? I mean, if somebody over a certain time frame does not like you, then I
This
think
year,
after 3 months just move
I
on.
agree with
make no
you.
mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. The average man in the dating world is after sex as his number one priority.
That's why we
And
have
women need to understand and accept that you are dating for a potential partner. He's dating for
sex.
vagina.
It's true.
K dot, where I say?
Yes, I agree with this yeah, about the 3 month thing. It's for us too. But as Keisha said, we most of us in it for the sex thing. No, how do I say this now? What I think should happen now at initial phase of the second or first date, everybody should come up with them position. Do you want long term? Do you want short term? Do you want somebody to just have sex with regular? Everybody should declare them thing on the table out front so they can decide where to take it. That's what I think should happen now in this day and age. Yeah. Um. I mean, the amount of time I end up in a friend zone. I mean, no want in a friend zone, in a friend zone. But me not make it bother me. Um. Me married now. I am not entirely innocent. I have had lovers before, but it's a different thing. It's very mature. We share a lot. I share a lot of commonalities with the lovers I've had. We share the same interests and books, so it's a little bit different, and at the same time you're searching for yourself. I want a close relation with myself because I already have a relation with myself coming out of the experiences I've had with my family. So I'm on a road of healing as well. So A lot of things you talk about here, I may have missed 'cause I didn't go to that school. I'm a little bit of a old fashioned thing in me. I am learning this new thing, in terms of how man and woman relations go these days. You understand? Um, there are a lot of things. I see a lot of things opening up. People talking about polyamory. People talking about um, all kind of different kind of relationship. But at the same time, they talk about it. They don't understand the protocols that governs each of these things because there are protocols and rules to every kind of relationship, and they don't understand. Then think that, for instance, polyamory is that one man a sleep around with no much women, and woman them can't sleep around with nobody. And also it really going on. But they are there exploring these kind of things there and there, and then they will come to understand them. You have to understand yourself first. So, you know, in this new age and stage, I think from the first instant that people need to declare where they want to go with any relationship. If they do want a relationship any at all, they need to declare from upfront, both man and woman. And if
You're
anybody,
removing the fun of deceit.
yes,
There you go.
yes, yes, I am doing
Um,
that.
can I say something about that though? A lot of times, especially in the heady days of the early communication, people aren't really sure where their head is at. In in defense of women, I'll say this. In my experience, of course, what I'm about to say um, assumes that what women say on this issue is true and accurate, and I believe it is. Not every a woman will have sex with a man on the first date, a particular man, totally against her policy. Um, so it's all well and good to say, um, oh well, 90-day rule, 90-day rule, 90-day rule. There are certain men for whom that woman will waive that 90-day rule in a second. And I mean,
But why? Why is she doing that if as Dacia says, women develop a code to take accountability, that big word that men love to use, realize the shit show that is their lives, and completely change how they conduct themselves in the world of dating. Why
no man, no man. I'm saying that a woman who has already done all of that and operates according to a particular code can meet a man for whom she just throws away the code book just for that man. Um, and I've had so many code books thrown away from me. You understand? So I I understand that lead because what happens is if I've had a code book thrown away from me like many times, I can't be the only man.
I think he's saying that even though there is that 90-day rule, there are some women who, depending on who the man is, they may go against that code because he has had that happen to him in the past. So maybe women are applying that to some men. So some men they will apply the wait longer rule to, and some they may not.
I really I'm really gonna push back on that narrative. There's no way to know that that woman truly had that rule book, or she was just pretending.
I think guys that fall into the friend zone. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Leighton. We
Yeah,
weren't hearing you,
yeah,
but we're hearing you
yeah.
now.
I think guys that fall into the friend zone are, it's a difference between recognizing upfront a mutual sexual attraction and deciding how fast or otherwise you're gonna move with it. It's a different thing when you're just kind of hanging on, hoping for a spark, hoping to get some action going. And the 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 fact of the matter is that like 90% of men have absolutely no sex appeal and absolutely no interest in developing any sex appeal.
Da da dee.
So at the end of the day,
Oh dear.
yeah, like you're gonna fall into the friend zone. She's gonna take your money for as long as she can without unbuttoning her blouse. If she's past a stage where she feel away when people call her a gold digger, she's like, yeah, whatever, you
But
know.
Leighton, some of
And
them don't even have money to give, so I wouldn't even say gold digger. But some women, maybe they like the person, but they're not physically, they're not sexually attracted to the person, but they like their companionship and other things, but they just don't want to be in a sexual relationship with that person. That is how some men get friend zoned. It's not, in my view, I do not believe that it's always like from a place of from a bad place when men get friend zone. It's that this woman, because this is totally different from somebody who is dating somebody where they think that can give them something and they're getting something from them and they're trying to use them. That's not friend zone. That is using somebody. In my view, friend zone is someone that the woman will be dragging along. They do like them. This is my view. They do like them. They like their companionship, but it will not go beyond that because she's just not sexually attracted to this person, which to me is different from a gold digger. Keisha, you can agree or not. That's my view from a female side. What friend zoning someone is.
I think even the very term friend zone is problematic. And it goes to the issue of consent and this rape culture that we have amongst men and women. Because why do you think that your interaction with me should guarantee you sex with me?
True.
You may come out to be my friend, you may come out to be my husband. Why are you so worked up about being friend zone? That means you were never genuine. If you're being kind to me only to have sex, or put it this way, if you're being kind to me because you are a true good guy, you are a true, thoughtful, genuine person, and you end up being my friend, is my friendship invaluable? Is that such a bad thing?
Exactly. Because sometimes it's years, even years after being friends with somebody, that you'll find that a relationship end up brewing. So
I agree with you and Keisha wholeheartedly, especially what Keisha said. It's something about that friend zone thing that always bother me, and
mhm.
that goes to the root of it. It's not an organic thing. It's like you're there in the wings, waiting to pounce, and you know, anytime she going through a bad breakup with whichever man of the day, you're there with your shoulder for her to cry on, but you're grimacing every time and say, boy, I don't know why you're always with these types of guys. And like, you know, she's so right. It's like you're trying to twist the person's arm eventually to be with you. Uh, uh, I don't know.
I,
I, I think these guys, and
I
do you
think they're too
know
entitled.
the cases where the girl actually feel guilty
Uh,
and actually try. take the guy out of the friend zone are disaster cases. Almost every one of them
So
that I've ever
true.
heard of.
So true. But what I just feel as though too many men feel entitled. It starts even from the trying to get your attention. Because I had to say to a man one time, I had to say to him, why do you feel as though you're entitled for me to give you my number? Meanwhile, there is a girl out there that may like you, and you would never think of having a conversation, but you don't expect that she should feel entitled that you should give her the time of day. So why do you feel that I am entitled because you think that you like me and I am not interested that I must give you your number? The same thing. Once they show interest and you start to give them any form of, okay, let me get to know this person, there's now this entitlement, this focus on sex. And so they are missing the opportunity for real connections.
They don't want connection. Speaking of which, Leighton, talk to us about the myth of the nice guy, please. Putting you on the spot.
About the talk to you about what, Kish?
The myth of the nice guy.
The nice guy. Okay.
Hmm.
Where to begin? All right. So let's start where what nice guys hate. Nice guys are inconsequential and therefore not sexy. Uh, Men of consequence are decisive. They shape the world. They make things happen. They make more money, and women are more turned on by them. Nice guys are soft touches, they are pushovers, they are not generally respected by their peer group. They get fewer opportunities, and their women and children suffer more. That's just one aspect of nice guy shit. The other aspect of it that women really need to be aware of is that nice guy is not really a nice guy. The nice guy pretends to be a nice guy mostly because he can't be anything else but. But when he becomes the guy, he oftentimes ain't so nice again. And apart from the nice guys that turn like flat out abusive, a lot of the nice guys are passive aggressive in a way that would drive you mad. Absolutely crazy. So, and Jordan Peterson did a brilliant breakdown of this harmless guy. Um, you you are the difference between a peaceful man and a harmless man. The peaceful man is harmless by choice. If his peace is disturbed, he can become very dangerous. But a harmless man is harmless. Whether his peace is disturbed, his woman's peace is disturbed, his whole world is disturbed. He can't do nothing about it. He's harmless. He's a nice guy. Um, that's all I'll say for now.
K Dot, as someone who is into martial arts, I see a lot of commonalities with what Leighton just said and some of the principles of martial arts, meaning that, the ideal warrior, the ideal martial artist is ready for war, prepared for war, trains for war, but ultimately he carries himself with respect. He respects others. He's not a bully. He's not aggressive, as opposed to the guy who's just an all around wimp.
Well, all the principles that you just named before a while ago, that's those were the principles I live by. I live by my martial arts principles because remember, I never I never have a father to a good father to pattern. So most of the stuff I learned in terms of life, education and value systems, I learned it through the martial arts. My master that taught me was my father, really, and along with my uncle in England. I never had really a good father pattern. So you're right about that. This is how I see my life through the martial arts. So I apply every tenet to my liberty. You know, you come, you understand, as I heal myself, you understand the value of woman, you understand the sacredness of the womb, you understand why women are to be treated properly because you are part of creating a better population in the future. That the people don't see that now because they don't get that kind of inner education, that education that they actually need. We don't get that kind of stuff. Things that they talk about the divine masculine, they don't really get that kind of stuff to really, you know, make them understand themselves inwards. I don't know if you understand me. I try to say. So I was lucky to get that back in the day there. Right now, the martial arts is all about commercial activity and, which school can make more money. A lot of the value systems and moral culture is gone, sadly, you know. So yeah, that is how me live my life mostly. And what made it more potent is when I met you and started to add African spirituality later on in the days to this thing to my liberty now. So me just life for me is just a continuous journey. It's just a continuous journey. Every day must be better than the day before. And that's just me and my philosophy. The other men, they don't have, everybody have a different background. So I can't really speak and tell a man how he should have live in life. But one thing I can do, I can see your behavior and I can ascertain what happened to make you behave that way today. You
But
know,
isn't it true though, Keda, that a man who, okay, for example, a man like you train, you keep your body strong, you practice martial arts, a man like you is less likely to be insecure and defensive around a strong
that's
woman,
true. That is
as
true.
opposed to a man who, as Leighton says, is quote unquote nice guy. He's not dangerous. He's not muscular and scary. He's just this little wimpy guy who says, "Yes, hon, yes, dear." And that's not attractive to women because
I,
instinctively, almost by nature, we
mm.
gravitate towards the guy who can be the toxic masculinity
Well,
when we
well,
need
well,
him.
when we're going to ask, the wimpy nice guy behavior, where does it come from? What happened in his life to make him be that way? Did he have a father around him that he never liked? Did he have a father around him and did I believe was raised by just his mother and her sisters? What happened? Why is he like that? This
Well, frankly, I'll
no.
be honest with you, and I've said this to Leighton before. The men who have been most kind, most generous, most masculine have been raised by mothers. So I don't really take this notion that women raise weak men. But going back to Dacia's point, I think a lot of men cosplay the wimpy guy because they want to get closer to women. So they
Oh, so
actually put themselves in the friend
is that
zone.
this guys you say?
Yeah, because they can't attract women any other way.
Well, that's
They're
not
not
him.
they're not that
That's how
guy.
it work.
Well, you got a win is a win, right?
Mm.
Dacia, what are your thoughts?
Oh,
So many different aspects to this thing. But yes, you do have some that are deceptive, and they can't compete with the guys that women tend to be attracted to. So they're going to take that approach, and they may come in through that means. But I don't know if I agree that there is the nice guy versus the toxic. I'm not sure if are there really nice guys. I'm not sure if there are really nice guys out there, Nakisha. I don't know.
Um, I would say the nice guy slash Prince Charming that women are fed to believe exist doesn't exist.
I
And we
I
need not go further than what men themselves have told us. Men lament every day that they don't like spending time with their wives. She's nagging. Her interests are boring. They don't like
there
girly stuff. They don't like romance. They don't want to be have one woman. All the things that women are socialized to go after, men are saying they hate it. They hate
some
to
men
communicate. You talk to, well, the vast majority, and those who claim to like it are labeled by the group of men as being simps.
there you go. So, and that is why I say, are there really nice guys? And again, it goes back to people knowing people, taking more time to know people, and being honest, because from long time him know said the woman like them something there, but all of a sudden now that him get used to her, now him feel comfortable to tell her and to verbalize that him don't like doing, he's not interested in certain things, right? But before, when him the look, when he was,
Vagina.
yes, and it's that F word that look for come out of mouth, and I said, let me rein it in, right? He would not have put that forward. And I'm saying people are too deceptive. At my age now, I have realized that the more honest you are, the more honest everyone is, the better it works out for everybody.
I
Because
agree. I agree.
just be upfront. If the person
Yes,
don't like you for that, then that is not
yes.
your person. Just, and you move on from that. So you see this whole debate that is going on out there about 50-50 and the this and the that, and for me, I do not think that there is any wrong or any right thing. It's just that people are trying to force a particular person that they decide say the woman them want, but she no want a man where want the 50-50. So he has a problem with that, and now he's trying to tell females that they need to go for that. While you have men out there that would be very offended if a woman tried to do 50-50. That woman is not for you, sir. Go and find a woman that is fine with 50-50. A man is out there that wants and is willing to do that. That is the thing. Because we are so not taking time to learn to understand firstly ourselves and say, okay, this not gonna work for me, or that not going to work for me. And if somebody comes up that is not that person is not for me. The person that probably and I will work out to be friends.
The,
Not
the,
everybody you're attracted to is for you. It's
the
not
right
everybody that you're physically attracted to is for you, no.
to
Some of them you're going to have to exercise some discipline and move on from.
the
That
right
is what
person
I
out
have
there
realized.
for everybody. The right person out there for everybody. Just be authentic. Just be
Just be
authentic. Just be
authentic.
authentic.
But
Exactly.
there's the
Believe
other
now.
aspect of the nice guy. I see Trish laughing in the comments. Um, the nice guy that I think is a myth. Um, he's only nice in relation to horrible men. I think Leighton broached the topic earlier. So if we have a good number of men who beat woman, rape woman, cheat with your cousin, cheat with them secretary, it's easy to be a nice guy. I mean, what is a nice guy? A guy who don't beat you, So there's a section of men who do the bare minimum, and they are very much invested in keeping things as it is. They don't want men to be better. They don't want men to become better humans. They put the burden and the blame on women to choose better rather than to improve themselves, not tolerate waste man in their space, mentor young men. Because a lot of what we're talking about, when people in their 30s and 40s, it might apply to them less. But for someone in their 20s that's just entering the dating world, these questions are going to come up. The issue of 50-50 is going to come up in a very serious way for people who are just starting out life. So I don't know. I don't know. The nice guy, he doesn't exist. Um, Another aspect of nice guyism is what I like to call abusive men with savior complexes. There are a group of men who abuse their women terribly. However, if the woman was to tell you, you wouldn't believe her because he's pleasant to others, he's chivalrous to women, he's a good man to other men, he's soft spoken, he's calm, level headed otherwise, but they are abusive. So I've seen this a lot of times. A lot of men who beat their women at home, when they're in public, they will go out of their way to be kind to strange women. And you just can't really know. You can't really know unless you vet these men properly and you see how they react when they're upset. Leighton, you wanted to address that point?
Yes, I was watching one of these crime stories where there was a doctor who had a relationship. He was married, had a relationship with a nurse at the hospital. She also was married. They decided that they would divorce their respective spouses and get married. And she divorced her husband, but he didn't divorce his wife. And she waited and waited and waited. And then when she started to move on with her life, he started to trail her and threaten any man she went on a date with while still being married to his wife. And eventually, he snuck into her house while she was sleeping and injected her with HIV and hepatitis B. And she made the report when she found that she was HIV positive because she just knew that he had done it. And no one believed her except that she was so positive. So eventually they found out that, yeah, he had done it and brought him to book. But what was interesting about the case was just how much of a nice guy the doctor was. His bedside manner was impeccable. Like he was the most popular doctor like in that county. And he was a really, 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 really nice guy. Like there was nobody who, the orderlies loved him, the patients loved him, his colleagues loved him, probably the nurses as well, you know? And he was the type of monster who would do the things that I just described. So, I mean, stories like that are legion. And that is the most dangerous type of nice guy because you can't get, even your own family will say, but I don't know why you're always saying these bad things about Colin.
Your
He's so
girl,
helpful.
your girl voice is so hilarious, Leighton. But it reminds me of that famous white nice guy, Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was seen as handsome, by Caucasian standards. Um, I believe he was either what he was in law school. He was well spoken, well dressed, charming guy, and we know he was a serial killer and a serial rapist. So I don't know. I don't know what men want from women. We can only do the best with the information we have. Why don't, and this brings me to my next question, why is it so much focus or burden placed on women to become detectives and psychologists in order to pick, and let's wait 90 days, no, let's wait 120 days, no, wait 2 weeks, but make sure you carry him to the obia man. Why can't men just be better people? Why can't they just work on themselves? Why is it up to us? Why, if a man is poor, we can't rely on the community of men? Say, okay, you've taken on a woman, she's taking a chance with you, we're going to hold you to treating her well. If we hear that you're beating your wife, just like what they would do in some villages in Africa, we're coming for you because you cannot treat the man's daughter like that. We're gonna beat you up. And every man lives under the threat of being addressed by other men if they don't live up to their responsibility. Why can't we strive for a society like that? Because frankly, I don't have a crystal ball. Too much burden is placed on women to try to figure out who is the good guy. And the repercussions is deadly. It can literally end in us you losing our lives if we get it wrong. So I'm
That is
saying
that
in a
that is
civilized society, men should hold each other accountable. If a man is
absolutely.
beating his wife, go and beat him up. Go and threaten him.
No, I agree. I agree. I was saying this to someone the other day, when someone did a particular post, and I said if men were holding their friends accountable, a lot of these things would not happen. You know that you have a friend that is abusive. You know that you have a friend that is a cheater. You know that you have a friend that's not taking care of his children. You shouldn't want, in my view, you shouldn't want to be hanging around somebody like that. You should be holding your friends accountable. And if more men did that, more men also held their not just friends but relatives accountable, then we would have less of these situations and everybody's trying to mind, so-called mind their own business. That is a part of protecting women.
Yeah, I see K Dot in the chat. K Dot asking why are women attracted to males like Trump and Vibes Cartel? Again, K Dot, I think these questions are unfair. We live in a world of patriarchy
Can I
where wait. Where no, hear me out, K Dot, hear me out. This is a patriarchal world where women need protection from other violent men. Let us use the standard ghetto community, where the don or the bad man can draw you out of your house when him feel like it, or bad you up for sex, or put such pressure on you. Maybe him don't rape you, but him put such pressure on you that you have to give in. Women are going to find men who have the capacity to be more violent attractive in this current societal setup. The fact that men have a difficulty understanding that is mind blowing to me. Is mind blowing to me. They're literally
The, the,
70% of women get raped.
the,
Sorry,
the,
go ahead, Leighton.
the short answer to K-Dot's question is that women are attracted to men of influence. So
of power, and men know
women,
this, and why they pretending like they don't know that.
yeah, women are attracted to. Just look at the number of men that follow cartel. Just look at the number of men that follow Trump. Why would you expect women to do otherwise? Um, you know, that's just how life is.
So it's just a patriarchy at work.
Well, it's a system of hierarchy that men created. We
Mm.
are. What can we do? I mean, as Leighton said, you ever going to a dance and see how much man crowd around Sizzler? How much man crowd around Bounty Killer? Men are the biggest groupies. Men love powerful men, so why wouldn't a woman love powerful men? No, it's true. Everybody want to be around the Don, Dada, father, my daddy, Addy and my daddy. Men came up with that. Women didn't come up with that term. Women didn't say Addy and my daddy. It's men.
Why?
Grown ass men. Men are the ones who are
You gotta leave
impressed with
Idonia
powerful
alone
men,
though.
Well,
right?
but I don't
A
know.
man who can make a phone call on your behalf, a man who has money to make moves. Why wouldn't that be attractive to the person whose responsibility it is to to carry life?
I me must see really out of it because me no know me no want and me want no man round me. Me no know. Me no come. Me no get it. Me no get it.
I mean, it's perverse, no doubt. But I'm not saying I agree that Cartel is like an ideal mate. Don't get me wrong. But
Yeah.
I'm saying just on a basic level, it's not hard to comprehend
Mm.
why a woman would be attracted to the Don.
Mm.
It's going back to nature, going back to the patriarchy, capitalism. The
Mm.
stronger men tell other men that they need to be alpha males. They need to be the strongest. They need to be the richest. That's what men tell other men. So why wouldn't I, as a woman, want the man that you look up to, that you fear?
Ah.
Seems reasonable.
Ah.
You
Mm.
know, but Keisha, every week when we have this conversation, I always have to say there are women that are not attracted to that type. But again, men want the women that are attracted to that type. We always speak about that, that there are women.
Yes, because they said they are attracted to that type. That's the man they want to be.
So there you go, and then no, it's weird to me because there are women like Trish mentioned Cartel, and there are women that love Cartel, and but I would scrub my face. I actually think Cartel cranny, but I understand the sex appeal. I understand his appeal. I totally get it. But he would not be for me. But then you may have men out there saying, because they probably like the girls that want Cartel, saying, oh, that's what women want, so and so. But then there are women that are not necessarily attracted to that type of men,
The
those type
thread
of men,
or
but they
the
don't pay, they don't notice those women.
the thread of commonality that runs through men like Cartel is not his praying mantis body, his bleached skin, his tattoos. That's not what makes him attractive. Here's what makes men like Cartel attractive: their boldness,
Yes,
their
confidence.
confidence, their
Confidence.
ability to make something happen out of nothing, their fearlessness, the fact that they are respected among their peers, the fact that they have achieved notoriety in their chosen field, the fact that they are coveted by other women. I think we're missing the point. It's not about dog paw, as Trish said. It's not about that. It's about a powerful man who can make things happen in a world that glorifies masculinity over all else. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with whether he's a gangster, a prisoner. He could be a CEO. It's the same thread. It's the same thread running through all.
Okay.
Trish said Cartel is packing, but we're going to stay on course.
The other
All
thing I
right.
want to add, no, there's one more.
Mm-hmm.
She said something and I was trying to find the correct word. There's another thing. Cartel makes women feel desirable. That's another thing that you see some of these men that get friend zoned in, well, quote unquote, that's another thing. So in addition to, I can't speak for Trump. I can't speak for Trump, but I can speak about a lot of these guys that are confident and so forth. They also make women feel desirable, and women like that. And there are a lot of men that don't know how to do that.
True. Um, we mentioned, we kind of touch on the animal kingdom slightly in the beginning when Leighton, well, he didn't directly say it, but he was talking about nature and the fact that hypergamy goes to the nature of the female in all species. But we often talk about, the lions, we talk about birds, we talk about gorillas. But there's a group of monkeys called the bonobo monkeys. And these monkeys, the female refuse, they don't mate with aggressive males. They refuse to mate with them. So if you want to be part of the mating dynamic, you have to be kind, you have to be gentle. And that's kind of how they have kept their community peaceful and matriarchal, because the women simply refuse to date or mate with aggressive males. And I'm just thinking back to your point earlier, Dacia, about women coming together and creating a new standard. And some of these things might be eradicated. I don't know what are your thoughts on that, Leighton, K. Dot, anyone?
That's fascinating information. I didn't know that about those monkeys. But definitely, I think without seeming to put the blame on women, that if they, well, as you say, if they only mated with kind, gentle men, then social dynamics would change. Um, as things stand, um, we've developed such a culture of gunmanship and gunmanship and badmanism that it's gonna take a serious, serious cultural shift because it's not just ghetto girl or a Serpy on politics watch would I say kerosene thing. This fetish for badmanism and gunmanism and gunmanship goes right to the most cloistered and ladylike parts of society.
I don't think we understand how deep rooted this is. And perhaps if we did, we'd all have more compassion for each other. Um, this goes as far back and even further, but as far back as 1492. Christopher Columbus became a made man, a notable man, by way of naked violence, cruelty, genocide, disrespecting other people, taking that was there's a statue of that man today all over the world. There are statues. He has a holiday in his name. The men who are revered in history are violent men. These are men of importance. So, part of this conversation, we have to be more honest. We have to be more compassionate with each other when we truly begin to look at what historically has come to be defined as masculinity in Western culture. We talked before about movies like The Godfather and how men of all races, but particularly black men, look up and fetishize themselves the idea of the well dressed gangster. And that's who they want to be, subconsciously and consciously. They name themselves off these guys, they name themselves off Don Corleone. What's that other rap guy who sing with Ashanti? Murder Inc. These were real Italian mobster gangs and mobsters, you know. So men, everybody wants to be that bad guy, that man of importance, and women want to be with the man of importance. So unless we're truly willing to deconstruct what masculinity is, then we're at no point or no position to shame or question women's desires for the most masculine man. K Dot, what are your thoughts on that?
Repeat again. You hear me?
Yes,
I
I'm
didn't hear the
saying
last
I'm
part.
saying we have been told from men like Christopher Columbus come right up, all the old pirates and all the murderous men. These are the men that are seen as men of importance. So our concept of masculinity being aggressive and murderous, it goes deep. So we can't really expect better
I
unless
agree
we're
with
willing to
you.
deconstruct it.
I agree with you. So we have to know, what education system, our liberty, we have to deconstruct and we have to unlearn all of that stuff. We have to learn all of that stuff. That's the only way. That's the only way we're going to get better. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we have to start putting in curriculums, even community curriculums, in terms of how we relate to each other, men and women, gender and sexuality. But all of these things are talking about the fucking church is going to tear it down. That is part of the problem. The church is a part of the problem.
According to Sizzler, the church defend them slackness as usual.
Yep, yep. We have to
Trish, in the,
learn.
Trish
Have
in
to
the
learn
comments
stuff.
says that but men protect and provide, no? In the artificial society that we live in, sure. But in nature, men don't neither protect nor provide. I don't even know that men can truly say they protect while at the same time being the predator. Seems a bit tricky that you can be both.
Well, the protection part is like that is like pre-slavery. Everything changed after in post slavery, post 500.
Yeah, the people who are responsible for rapes and femicides can't call themselves protectors. I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
And providers. Providing what? What are you providing? Nature provides.
Yep, yep,
All right.
yep.
I want to move on slightly to some of the other advice that women are getting. Not so much from men, but from women. And one of that is that, women need to be softer. We need not be so bitter because once we're feminine, we're going to attract better men. And some of us are holding on to past hurt, and we just need to let
Uh,
go
can
and be
I?
feminine. Go
How deep
ahead.
is
Go
it?
ahead, Leighton.
Listen. Every time I hear women say that if women were more feminine, if they were more agreeable, if they were more in tune to what their husband wanted, then he wouldn't cheat. I don't know whether to hug them or slap them. I've been at a bar with professional men, and one of them said, it's a group of 10 or so men, and one of them said, you guys ever have a woman that's perfect in any way? like don't hold back on sex, that like like agreeable, nice, but just like a perfect woman, and we still get our bun. Why we do it? And every man just hold down him head over him glass, you know. Which, to be honest, I was surprised because the way they all held down their heads, it was like an acknowledgement. Like none of them piped up and said, "Boy, I wish me could have a nice woman like that." Like all of them acknowledge that them have or have had perfect or next to perfect women in their lives that they have given born for no reason. So, every time I hear, especially women giving women this bullshit advice, it really sad.
Yeah, totally. And not only is it sad, it's dangerous, especially coming from these femininity coaches. It's dangerous to tell a woman, and for another woman to be telling a woman to be more softer and trusting, when I believe it's in Australia, they've actually declared femicide or attacks on women to be a national crisis. Like on government level, they are saying it's so out of control that they're declaring it a major national crisis. And all across the world, femicide rates are up. A friend of mine was telling me recently that someone came to him, a guy came to him and was like, "Can you install this dating app on my phone and help me create a profile?" And he said he was quite alarmed because the man is homeless. The man can read or write, but he wanted him to help him create a fake profile. And he said even he, as a man, got a little nervous. He's like, you want to go on this app to meet people picnic, people daughter? And that's what's happening. A lot of men are on these apps. They listen to women's podcasts, they listen to these femininity coaches, and they put up that they earn six figures. They put up these 6 foot tall guy photos, AI photos, or people photos, and they lure women into dates. And women are telling other women that we need to not be bitter, we need to let down our guard. Men are telling women don't have a 90-day rule. It's just all sounding very dangerous to me.
It is. It's not going to make anything better. It is. Dangerous for the daughter them too.
Yeah. And as Dacia said, a lot of these accounts, the majority, I think they actually did a study, the majority of men who use dating apps are actually married men. I think someone can correct me, but it's actually a statistical fact. They've managed to determine that most users of these apps, the males, are married. So this idea of, lowering your guard and wearing floral dresses and smiling at every strange man because you want to be in your femininity, I don't think that's what we should be doing. Go ahead, Dacia.
Oh, those women that are telling other women that are what my daughter would call pygmishas. That's the first thing. Um, why should women? It's the so much responsibility is put on women, I realize, and very little accountability for men. First of all, these dating apps. Well, I can speak about for in Jamaica. You have a lot of married men on it. You have a lot of men that are in relationships on it. Majority of, no, I don't like to generalize like that, but I have found that most of the persons that are on it, they're there because they want hookups. They don't want to, you find most of them are there for hookups. Um, want hookups, and so they go there and they waste people time. People that really looking for a relationship. You know, those stories that you hear about people finding love on the apps and so and so and so. That's not happening there. I've spoken to somebody, and when you question the person, this is why it's important to have this conversation. You remember Leighton said something earlier, and I wanted to really commend him on it, because if more people were doing this, before you even agree to go on a date with somebody, speak with them, have more conversation with them. I remember two cases. There was one, there's some two of them. One of the guy, when I asked about his relationship status, and when you're asking the relationship status, you have to pose a question in so many ways. You can't just ask if they're married. You can't just ask if they're seeing somebody. You have to also ask if there's somebody out there that may think that they're with them. All of them things there. And when they answer, they're always just out of a relationship 2 weeks ago. Red flag. Another one was in so eager. Like the first day you're speaking to them, they want to meet you the next day, and I'm like, red flag, red flag. Because I don't know if I even want to be in front of this person to sit down and have a meal. This rush, and oh, be feminine, be that. We have to be, women have to, we have to be our own protectors. That's what I see that's happening. Men are not being held accountable. Men are not protecting women. Then as far as I see, and it's not general, but it's like based on the conversations that I'm seeing out there, they don't want to be providers either. So I'm not sure what is happening in this world right now. They don't want to provide. They're not protecting women. A lot of them are attracted to women, but they don't really like women. They don't respect women, because if you liked women and you respected women,
Well,
a
well,
lot of these things that they're having problems with,
well,
that they claim that they're having
well,
problems, and that
well.
they're giving instruction to women too, they would sit and they would realize that, boy, that not putting the sister at an advantage, you know. They wouldn't be putting those things out there because they wouldn't want that for their daughter. If
And
they like their mother, they wouldn't want that for their mother, because
and you're
some of them
right.
don't like their mother. So we can't even say, oh, sometimes we can't even say, what they want that for their mother. We have to add the part if they like their mother, because some of them has had a tumultuous relationship with their mother, with all kind of things. So they
All
are
right.
coming. The A lot of these
All true.
persons are coming with all kind of traumas, you know.
All true, all true. You put the finger on the button right there. All true. And generally because of all of those traumas, we don't really love women.
and
We
and
love
and
vagina. We love
it's true.
vagina, but we
You
don't
do
love women. We
exactly.
don't
So
love
why
women.
are
We
you giving
don't.
me problem? You're giving me the vagina. Give me the vagina, and don't complain about anything. Don't want anything. Don't complain that you're not getting this, or you're not getting that, or you're not being treated a particular way. Just run that. That's what you're there for, to cater to me, and to don't complain about anything. That's what I see. And then the pygmishas over there now, because they want to be put up on some pedestal, are gonna come out, and they're gonna say, oh, women, you need to be more this, or you need to be more that, when there are women that are out there that are like that, and they are being treated no better.
Well, going forward now, I know that there are movements like the 4B movement. It's debatable as to how large scale the movement is, but certainly the philosophy of the movement exists and is gaining traction among women all over the world. The notion that the solution for women finding better is to just withdraw from men, from dating men, from marrying men, from procreating with men. And really, just for the simple fact of what we discussed at the beginning, that there is just no winning, there is no benefit for women. If you have sex young and it doesn't work out, you're a baby mother. If you wait and get your degrees and get educated so you can bring the 50 that they want to the table, you're strong and independent and nobody cares about your degrees. If you decide, okay, fine, I accept that I am ugly and I'm a 4 at best, I'll just try to, you know, live my life the best way I can. Oh, you're a crazy cat lady and you don't have a man, so you're nothing. It's just a never ending onslaught of attack on the feminine's right to simply exist. And there is no concerted effort for us to have a community of men that going to hold other men accountable. It's always focused on women's behaviors, policing women's behaviors, policing how often we have sex, when, how soon we have sex, how many times we have sex. All of that is just a constant policing and consequence and blame and stone throwing. It's exhausting. So, is it that women need to withdraw? I know, we talk about the pick and some women just crave male acknowledgement and they will never, they'd rather die than go without men. But for the women who truly want to have a better family dynamic, they want to have better relationships, is the solution for them, um, Leighton, you want to respond? Is the solution for them to withdraw?
Yes, indeed. I remember watching a documentary about a settlement village in some African country. My mind tell me it's kind of, but don't quote me. Um, Really, most of the women who had been abused, run away, and form this kind of community. Women only, no men lived there, and they could only visit there on very strict terms. Like they basically them can't come there. And so the interviewer was interviewing quite a few women walking around the village, and so he's asking one woman, um, how come there's so many pregnant women here and with young babies? There are no men here. And the woman laughed and said, "Oh, we don't say we don't like man, you know. We just say they can't stay here." So that's the solution. Women need to separate themselves. I think the 4B movement is very salutary. Um and the thing about it is that the men who are likely to be most up in arms about the 4B movement are the men who are in red pill and men going their own way and their own secessionist ideology. But them one woman hang around to beg them to come back. They're delusional. Once the women keep themselves to themselves, that is, I think, necessary, if not sufficient, is necessary for men to um, reorient themselves and start to look at things with a different perspective.
Thanks. K dot, what's the way forward for women in the dating pool?
Way forward for women or men?
Well, both would be nice, but you can start off with women.
We need to unlearn all the patriarchal garbage, both sides. Unlearn all the patriarchal garbage and let us know. You know what me always say, Sankofa, how did we relate to each other pre-slavery? Let us start there. Just start learning about ourselves. Let us start there.
Ashe, brother, Ashe. Dacia, what are your final thoughts on the way forward?
I believe that as it relates to, I think the women control access. And once we control access, we can be the change. I think it first starts with women getting to know themselves more first We have to begin with ourselves. Many of us don't know what we want. We don't know ourselves. We are what society has told us that we need to be. And that's why you have, all of these things, some these looks and so forth, going on out there. But I think if we take the time to really um learn about ourselves as individuals, we'll get to know what it is that we want and what we don't want, and take our time to get to know people. It doesn't mean you're going to know everything, but if we hold ourselves to a higher standard and we hold men to um, meeting those standards, and all women are doing that, or the majority of women are doing that, because we have something that men want, we actually control that, then there will be a shift. But if we are making access too easy, we are letting them tell us who we should be because they don't want to bring themselves up to a particular standard, then we're going to continue to have chaos. But it begins with us knowing ourselves, holding ourselves to a higher standard, and holding out to say, this is what I want, because you know yourself and you know that anything outside of that is not going to work for you. Then when more women are doing that, men will have no choice, Keisha, because the majority of women are doing that, then the culture will change. That's my belief.
Except, and I hate to end on a sad note, except they will have a choice. They say it's called
That's why
rape. It's called
well,
rape,
well,
and that's for a whole other
that's
discussion.
for a
But
whole other discussion.
many men have actually said if women go their own way, they'll come after them. They'll
Well,
take it by
well, if
force.
therefore means it going to take things to another notch, no, then we have to go start. We are going to have to protect ourselves. We're gonna have to protect ourselves. Who forget poison? Who forget drop hot oil drop in our ears? All of
Well,
them things
sometimes
there.
it's even more institutionalized than that. So
Well,
there are discussions talking about removing no fault divorce because 70% of divorces are filed by women. Of course, we see the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Back in the day, um, men or the law required women to be attached to a man for certain basic things like having a driver's license, owning property, owning a bank account. So the point I'm making is I think long term we're gonna have to do what K Dot said, which is really revisit the patriarchy and some of these things that we've internalized, and especially as black people, and really assess whether they're working for us, because at the end of the day, if the system wants to give men access to women, they can and they will. And we know this because they've done it before. They've done it. They will force you to have to live with a man in order to exist, to function. So, on that note, thanks everyone for joining and participating in the conversation. It was very enlightening and very entertaining. I enjoyed it very much. And until next time, have a good evening and thank you for joining the Truth Gangsters podcast.
You too. Bye.